Thank you for joining us for All Things MSP Live. My name is Eric Anthony. I'll be your host tonight, and we really do appreciate you spending some time with us. Now, you may be asking, what is All Things MSP? We are a community, first and foremost, of MSPs and people around the MSP industry, vendors, subject matter experts, all that kind of stuff, and we're talking about the non-technical side of being an MSP. Now, most of our activity happens in our Facebook group. That's the platform that we've been on the longest. You can join us there at facebook.com/groups/all things MSP. There's about 6,000 members in the group, and somebody is there waiting to talk to you. And we also, if you don't do Facebook, we have a LinkedIn company page. So you can go to linkedin.com/company/all things MSP. Now, last but not least, we also have a YouTube channel. So you can head on over there. This is where you can probably get the best experience watching the live stream because it allows us to interact better through the comments there. But also, we publish a weekly podcast there as well, in addition to publishing it to all of your favorite podcast platforms. But we also post other pieces of content as well. So make sure you go there, you like, you subscribe, you do all the things to make sure you get notified so that you'll know when we post new podcasts, as well as we're doing a new live stream. Now, the live stream is typically every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We try not to miss it, but sometimes life happens. Okay, we got about 19 seconds left before we start the show. We'll see you there. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of its participants and do not reflect the views and opinions of any employer, MSP, sponsor, advertiser, or vendor. Hey there, All Things MSP crew. Welcome back to another All Things MSP Live. Tonight's going to be probably a little bit of a shorter one, just because I thought tonight's topic didn't need a lot of explanation. It's more for just motivation's sake. So tonight we are going to be talking about one of my favorite things. In fact, if you're watching this on Wednesday night, tomorrow morning or tomorrow sometime, I'll actually release or re-release kind of a video that I did several years back ago on this same topic. And so you can watch that YouTube video tomorrow and get a look at what this used to look like in the old days. And by old days, I mean probably 4-5 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. But, you know, long enough that I've gotten grayer. Anyway, tonight's episode is sponsored by our elite sponsor, CoreView. Simplify 365 management with CoreView, the ultimate tool for MSPs. From advanced reporting to enhanced security and license optimization, CoreView empowers you to manage your clients' environments effortlessly, easy for me to say. Save time, reduce costs, and deliver superior service. Learn more at atmsp.link/CoreView. And tonight's premier sponsor is MoveBot. MoveBot makes cloud migrations effortless for MSPs, whether it's a small client or a large enterprise. MoveBot provides fast, secure, and seamless data migrations. With no hidden fees and unmatched scalability, MoveBot is the tool MSPs trust for their cloud projects. Visit atmsp.link/MoveBot to learn more and get started today. All right, everybody. So thank you again for our sponsors, by the way, because without our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the stuff that we do, and we really do appreciate their support. Now, speaking of sponsors and support, if you are a vendor and you're watching the show, our 2025 sponsorship prospectus is available. So go ahead and reach out to me. It's eric@allthingsmsp.com, and I will go ahead and send that sponsorship prospectus out to you. If you're not sure whether or not you want to become a sponsor of the All Things MSP community, we do also offer for all of our vendors and other communities and people who just want to let the MSP community know that they're out there. We offer a free 10 to 15 minute, what we call a vendor update, because most of them are done by vendors, but in addition, we'll have other communities and other people on here who just want to talk about what their communities or what their channels are doing for the MSP world. So if you're interested in that, just go ahead and email me as well. Just eric@allthingsmsp.com. We do have a lot of them booked for the next probably several weeks, if not months. So make sure you get those in quickly so that we can get them scheduled as soon as possible. All right. So tonight's subject is sorry, it's not ready, aim, fire. It's ready, fire, aim, because I think that there is value in executing before you have a fully baked plan. And so there is no better time to start than right now. Now, we're in January. We're in the first couple of weeks of January. And this is the time when a lot of people are getting started. They're setting goals, they're setting plans. But I also want to make the point that even if you are so busy right now that you don't have time to do that, what you should be doing is setting aside time when you do have time. Okay. Look out on your calendar. I guarantee you, I, this is pretty much, I forget who I heard it from, but it's a known fact that if you go out 3, 4, 5 weeks, you are guaranteed to find a couple of hours that you can spend on goal setting and planning. Okay. So book it in your calendar. We talk about calendar blocking a lot in, the different shows, different episodes that we've done on the podcast. In fact, we just did one with Time Boss and they talked about calendar blocking. It's an excellent tool to use, but you got to do it. You got to set that time aside, because by the time you get to 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, you are going to be busy. But if you block that time off in advance, you'll be surprised how you actually have that time to spend on goal setting. So my first point tonight is you do need to get started, and you do need to get started right now. Now, I made a fatal mistake here and put this up and made it so that I couldn't actually see the micro text that you guys are viewing there, because I did have, a little bit more information that I wanted to share in terms of this. So, the new year's already in motion, and that's why a lot of you are already busy, right? But there's still time to make it your best. And like I said, part of that is going out and making the time, scheduling it so that you actually do it. But here's one of the biggest points about Ready, Fire, Aim is that success is not about a perfect plan. In fact, plans almost always literally fall apart. So, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. And so what you want to do is you want to plan, but don't go so overboard in your planning that it's not flexible either. So that's definitely something that you need to talk about, is start now rather than waiting until you have the perfect plan. And then focus on momentum. The key with momentum is that you have to start. You won't start building momentum until you actually start. And it doesn't matter how small you start, little steps, just like it says here, can create large outcomes. And if you do small steps every day, you continue to build that momentum forward and forward and forward until you actually see, progress happening on a daily basis towards those goals that you set for yourself. Now, today is the day to start. If you haven't started, start today. And the first thing, like I've already said, is if you don't have the time right now, make the time sometime in the future so that you have a concrete date on the calendar to say that today is the day. Now, when it comes to, doing things like this, it's, the time to start any type of project to get it done faster was yesterday. Okay. The time, in fact, there's a quote, and I think I have it up here. Yeah. So the time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Okay. So you definitely want to, if you've missed your chance 20 years ago, I wish I would have invested in, all of the things that, are growing like crazy today, or have grown like crazy just in the last year. Apple, Amazon, all of those companies that just have, gone off the charts. Where would you be if you had invested in them 20 years ago? Well, I can happily say that even last year, I invested in some of those companies that I hadn't invested in, and they grew significantly last year. Now, am I at a place where I would be if I was doing it 20 years ago? No, but I am farther ahead than if I started today. So start as soon as you can so that you start to build that momentum today. Now, I would like to hear if any of you are in the audience with us tonight, would like to hear your opinions on these things. We do have Marvin B in the audience. He's kind of just watching us in preparation. He's warming up for his show tonight. And if you stick here till the end, I'll actually show you who he's got on tonight. And he's got some pretty good guests for tonight. So along the theme of ready, fire, aim, what I want to share when it comes to that is a couple of more bullet points. Okay. So when it comes to being ready, what does that mean? It means to set a clear, actionable goal. A goal, not necessarily an entire plan, right? And the key to doing this is keeping it simple and achievable, which is funny enough, two of the things in a SMART goal, right? And we're not going to go into SMART goals because that kind of gets in the way. That's more aiming than firing, right? So get your goal in mind, define it enough so that it makes it real, but still keep it simple, but then also make sure it's achievable. Now, firing, and I realize we have this whole thing in the wrong order, right? Because it's supposed to be ready, aim, fire, right? And there's some logic to aiming before you fire so that you hit the target, right? And obviously for shooting an arrow or something like that, it makes total sense because the time that it takes the arrow to travel from the bow to the target is so much faster than we have time to react to. That's what makes this a little bit different, right? If you set a goal and then you work on it, you have time between the start and the end to make adjustments. And that's the big difference here. And that's why ready, fire, aim actually works when it comes to doing things like this, because you have that time to compensate. So what it means, you've got a goal in mind, right? But it's taking some kind of action. Doesn't really matter what that action is, but make some kind of action towards that goal so that your start date is today. That's the big key here, is you're making sure that you are getting started rather than waiting until the plan is in place. How many times? Because I know I've done this plenty. You've wanted to put together a good plan in order to make sure that everything is right before you get started. And I know you're thinking it right now. You're thinking about those things that you've created a plan for and then never did, because you spent so much time planning and no time executing that by the time you got to the end of the plan, maybe you didn't even get to the end of the plan. But by the time you got to the end of the plan, you were already on to something else. Okay. I've been in that position myself many, many times. And that is what makes this idea of ready, fire, aim so powerful, is getting started actually moves you down the path. Planning doesn't move you down the path. And so if you start moving and then start planning or refining your plan, it makes a lot more sense in the long run, because you're going to learn so much more through executing first than you would by sitting back and just trying to figure out what the plan should be before you actually tried any of it. So that's the point. And this kind of goes back to marketing as well, right? You won't know what's going to work with marketing until you've actually tried a bunch of stuff. And that's why we always talk about, if you can do marketing, do a little bit, try it for a period of time. It has to be over time, because if you try just a little bit of marketing over short periods of time, you're not going to get enough data. But if you do it for enough time, even though it's a small amount, then you're actually going to be able to get some information. Oh, great. You guys heard that because for whatever reason, it didn't actually mute. I apologize for that. I'm going to have some water. Okay, well, hopefully there are no broken eardrums out there. Again, I do apologize. Okay, so we've done ready, we've done fire, but then you still need to aim. And aiming, when you have the ability to adjust mid-flight, we'll call it, is adjusting as you go, refining your approach based on where you think it's going. If the arrow is off to the right, bring it back to the left, right? And this methodology gives you the opportunity to do that. And that's what we're looking for here. We're looking at getting ready, okay, which is just getting the goal in mind. Firing, which means taking some kind of steps towards that goal. And as you're taking those steps, refining that aim through a better and better plan. Because your progress doesn't come from aiming. Aiming just tells you which direction you're going in, but it's the actual execution of it that makes it go forward. And that's why it's so important to fire before you aim. All right. And then what are your next steps? Okay. To start strong and keep going. So a couple of more bullet points here. So you want to identify one key goal. This is kind of what we said in the last part, but this is the step-by-step, okay? Identify one key goal. Break that down into 2 to 3 actionable steps. Okay, 2 to 3 things you can do this week in order to move this idea forward. Schedule time on your calendar. Calendar blocking. Who knew? It's a thing. Let's see. What is Uncle Marv trying to tell us? He put something in the comments. I'm not sure what that means, Uncle Marv, but I do like the emoji. It looks like a nail biting emoji. I'm not totally sure. It could be that I'm making him sick. I don't know. But anyway, thank you, Uncle Marv, for being here. Really do appreciate it. Schedule time on your calendar to execute. Like I said, time blocking. It's super important. If you just have a plan and don't assign deadlines to that plan, it's never going to get anywhere. You guys know that as well as I do. And then review your progress at the end of the week and adjust. And this is where I want to bring up, just something real quick. And I'll go ahead and take the slides off screen for a minute. By the way, that's the end of the slides. We're not going to do any more slides. What I'd love to know is what you guys think about this, what you guys are doing in 2025 to move forward. So if you feel like joining the conversation, go ahead and put some comments in there. They usually work from at least LinkedIn and YouTube. If you're on Facebook, probably not going to get those comments. So if you really want to comment, probably the best place to do that is to switch over to YouTube and interact there. But the important thing about this last piece is breaking it down into those 2 to 3 actionable steps and making it time bound. Okay. Again, SMART goals, the T in SMART stands for time bound. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are taking and putting steps out there, assigning due dates to them, and then reviewing your progress at the end of the due dates. That's what's important in this process. And if you haven't read the 12-week year, probably one of the best productivity books, in my opinion, when it comes to how to treat your time. So many of us, and this is a great topic for tonight, is when you're looking at this, a lot of us look at the entire year because it just makes sense, right? A year-long goal is a good amount of time for a large goal. But here's the problem. Tell you a little secret. We get to the end of the year and maybe it's December 1st and we finally get started. We finally get serious about doing that goal. But that doesn't work really well, does it? So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you are dividing your year up into smaller chunks. And basically what the book says is to basically break your year up and treat your quarters as years, because pretty much anything that you want to get started and do seriously can get done in a quarter. And so if you break down those things that you want to get done into quarters, months, and weeks, it makes the timing more real, because there's this phenomenon and I forget what it's called. Somebody, if you guys know online, go ahead and shout it out in the comments. But if you give a task more time than it actually needs, guess what? It's going to take up that entire time. So don't let it take up all of that time by giving it some boundaries. Put it in a fence, put it in a box, put it in a cage, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Put those tasks in a time-bound box so that you can actually get them done and get on to the next one. Because here's what happens with procrastination, right? Is we plan, we aim to get a task done, but we say, oh, we just need to get that task done by the end of the week. Well, the end of the week gets here faster than we think. And all of a sudden we have 3 or 4 tasks that to do in one day, and they take more time than we have available in that day to get those tasks done. And again, that's why calendar blocking helps, because that's what you're doing. You're time bounding those tasks to a certain hour on a certain day. And that's basically what I do, right? I sit down every week and I look at the things that I need to get done for the week. And I have a page in my journal that one section is for my day job, one section is for all of you guys, for the All Things MSP community, and the other one is for the personal stuff that I need to get done, right? We're getting ready to do taxes this year. So I've got to get stuff done for the accountant for taxes and collect all that stuff. So there are things that I need to get done every single week. Okay. Oh, Marv is saying I can take his emoji down. Yeah, Marv, this is just, newbie me not knowing how to use StreamYard correctly. Thank you, sir. And so just, making those things that I need to get done for the week, writing them down. Writing has a lot to do with it for me. I guess I'm a very mechanical person. And so writing things down helps. But then I can go take those lists and assign them to specific days and specific hours on those days that I need to get those things done. And that also tells me whether or not I have too many things actually planned for the week. And that tells me to move things from this week to next. And that helps me with the prioritization of those things. So that's, probably, the most important thing out of that book is how they break down time and how they help you to reorganize so that you can prioritize what you're going to be doing. All right. I have rambled on enough tonight. This was meant to be, rather than a teaching show, which I've done some of those in the past, like mini webinar type things. This was meant to be more motivational. I don't want you to be concerned that you haven't started setting goals or started to plan your 2025 yet. We all know how things get, but you got to start at some point, and you might as well put that point on the calendar. So before you stop watching this video, please go ahead and put that date in your calendar that you're going to sit down and actually plan the rest of your 2025. There are plenty of books out there that'll help you have that session. I would just suggest asking ChatGPT. Ask it for a plan. Say, I want to plan out my business for 2025. These are the things that are of most concern to me. Help me create a plan for 2025 and break it down by quarters, months, and weeks, what I need to do to get to those goals. All right. Good night. Have a great evening, and we will see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching All Things MSP Live. You can reach me, Eric Anthony, at eric@allthingsmsp.com. If you're a guest, if you're a vendor, if you want to sponsor the show, let me know.